Hello guys and welcome to my new video. Today I'm going to be looking at patch 7.25 RESTO DRUID preparation. So in this video I'm going to be covering some of the things you might start preparing as a restoration druid, or actually generally as a World of Warcraft player before the new patch coming out on 20th of June. So that's only in a couple of weeks. The patch is actually probably going to be released on the 13th, so in the next week. While Tomb of Sargeras is going to be released the week afterwards. So we have 1 week to test out the patch before the raid is actually released, where we can see kind of how the resto druids are doing with the nerfs and things like that. But I'm just going to be talking about what kind of talents and what kind of legendaries you're actually going to go in Tomb of Sargeras as a restoration druid. First, I want to cover some of the basic things. You want to basically have 6 seals of Broken Fate. So seals of Broken Fate allow you to roll for an additional loot after the boss is killed. These seals of Broken Fate are going to be the same that are used in Tomb of Sargeras. Has been confirmed by someone on Blizzard Twitter. So basically, if you can only have a maximum of 6. If you have 6, you go into the raid. You just basically loot on you roll on every boss and hopefully get for new pieces of items. The point is right now, so the people try to save them as much as you can. Hopefully, you have 6 when the patch hits. So you might get like on previous, like when 7.2 was released, or when Nighthawk was released. I actually got lucky. I got, I think, 3 pieces of tier loot from these seals of Broken Fate. So try and stack them up now. Another very important thing is that you should have all the specific legendaries for your class at this time. So there's a total of 10 healing legendaries that you can have, and if you don't really have all the 10 legendaries, there's going to be 2 new legendaries. There's going to be a legendary ring and there's going to be a legendary helm. They are going to be available when 7.25 is released, and they're going to be obtained the same way as all the legendaries are obtained, random drops. So if you haven't gotten legendary for the last 3 weeks or something and you have 10 legendaries, there's a high chance, it takes around a month for me to get a legendary, so there's a high chance that maybe when 7.25 hits you can get a nice resto. Well, what you would like to get is the legendary ring, the legendary helm. You can kind of test it out, but if you don't have the 10 legendaries, 10 resto legendaries, then there's a much lower chance of getting the ring. So to be completely optimized, try and get 10 legendaries before 7.25 is released. Of course, legendaries can take a while to get, so again, it's all RNG, but in order to be prepared to the maximum, try and get 10 of these. And let's look at some of the talents that I think that are going to be used in Tomb of Sargeras. Scenario Word is going to be used from the very start. I know I talked about Prosperity, but that's only going to be maybe viable with some of the tier 20 pieces, and tier 20 pieces might take a while for you to get. So Scenario Word is going to be 100% used. Displacer Beast is going to be 100% used. You are not super familiar with the fight. Maybe you need to soak something, maybe you need to get out of something, maybe there's a rings coming towards you, maybe there's like multitude of items can happen, a multitude of mechanics can hit you, and Displacer Beast is really going to help with that. It's 100% going to be used. Guardian Affinity is most likely going to be used for monster fights. At the end of the day, people don't know the fights well, people are going to make mistakes. Guardian Affinity reduces damage taken by 6%. I can see that people switching over to Balance Affinity if they feel that the raid is spread out and you might not reach everyone. But this is probably going to be used much later on in the patch release, when people are more familiar with what's going on. Typhoon is most likely going to be the default choice. I mean, you don't even use it that much. Maybe there'll be ads that are coming towards you. Any of these choices are actually completely viable. I choose to stick with Typhoon. Cultivation is still going to be the #1 talent used in tier 75. Even with Cultivation nerf, it is not what Cultivation is not there for the extra healing. Extra healing is awesome, but when you place cultivation places a hot on the person, and that hot is going to increase the healing you do by how much mastery you have. And most Resto Druids are stacking a lot of mastery, therefore it can increase up to like that little hot applied to the person can increase your healing on that person by around 20%, which is really, really good. For tier 90, most likely it's going to be Spring Blossoms. So this is kind of a choice that was different from the previous patch. When Nighthall was released, everyone was running with Inner Peace because everyone was going with crit and haste builds. But because everyone right now have realized that mastery is one of the best ways of doing progression, where it really matters, optimization really matters. Mastery stacking is much more relevant, and Spring Blossoms and Germination both favor mastery stacking. Germination can be very mana inefficient, and especially with the Legendary Shoulder nerf, it's probably not going to be viable to use Legendary. It's most likely not going to be viable to use Legendary Shoulders, and Germination kind of loses some of its value. So you need a fight where there's a lot of debuffs, where people have debuffs for like 20 seconds. Things like Spellblade Alorial, things like the Conjurers. If those fights like that in Tomb of Sargeras, you will most likely release Germination. But when you don't know the fight, Spring Blossom is going to be the default choice. You just put Efflorescence in melee and you just hope there's going to be a decent amount of stacking. And with the high mastery stacking in Resto Druids, it's going to work well. Another point is that it's Tomb of Sargeras. People don't know what's going on. People are going to make mistakes. People are going to dip a lot lower. People are going to take a lot more damage. And mastery is going to... This is the time when mastery is going to shine. People taking damage. People don't know what's going on. Mastery is built for this. And Spring Blossoms really works well with the Resto Druid mastery. So it's most likely going to be the default choice. And Flourish is going to be your default choice for Tomb of Sargeras, because it just works really well with extension of HOTS. Especially with Legendary Shoulders not being really viable anymore, Flourish is going to help you keep up HOTS on as many people as possible before the damage is coming in or after that damage has happened. So this is the talents that I'm presuming are going to be used. By default, I'm going to use these talents when Tomb of Sargeras comes out. And before I'm going to finish up this little guide, I'm going to cover some of the legendaries that I feel that are going to be the best for you in Tomb of Sargeras. So, like I said, Legendary Shoulders again get nerfed. Instead of extending your rejuvenation by 15 seconds, it's going to extend it by 9. Balance is going to be your #1 legendary for the time being. But balances haven't gotten any changes, haven't gotten any nerfs. It was strong before, it is super strong now after the Legendary Shoulder changes. You're gonna go run Balance, and I feel you're most likely going to run Predus. You're most likely going to run the neck, just because it gives you a really nice absorb, it gives you really nice stats. That absorb is really, really powerful for progression fights, because like I said multiple times during this video, people are not gonna know what's going on. People are gonna take extra damage, you're gonna take extra damage, maybe you won't do an ability properly, and the shield could honestly save your life multiple times. It is the neck is the best progression legendary, I would say. Unless you feel really safe, unless you feel like you're doing mechanics well, you're using your Displacer Beast properly and things like that, you can replace the legendary neck for right now you could almost replace the legendary neck for things like the waist if there is a lot of tank damage. If there's a lot of tank damage, the waist can do a lot of Life Bloom healing. The ring Tearstone is pretty decent in heavy AoE fights, but I don't feel it's going to be better than Predus or Waste in heavy. Predus for safety, Waste for your tank safety. But right now, Predus Valence is going to be most likely what you're going to be using when Tomb of Sargeras gets released. Hopefully you get the new legendary ring and you can test that out and see how big your wild golds get. But this has been my thoughts on the preparation for 7.25 for your Restoration Druid. What are the talents, what are the legendaries. I hope this was somewhat informative. Tell me which talents you're going to use, which legendaries you're going to go with the new patch. And thank you for watching this little guide, and I'll see you next time.